Okay, salut. So now I'm going to move on with our learning about pronouns in French, and we're going to learn about indirect object pronouns. So again, these are very straightforward. So an indirect object pronoun, les pronoms objets indirects, they replace the indirect object of a sentence. So they're not the main big part of the sentence, okay? So indirect object pronouns are used in a sentence when you have a verb that's followed by the preposition aggrave. This really gives it away when to use an indirect object pronoun, such as parler à, to talk to. So we really use an indirect object pronoun when you want to replace people in a sentence, okay? But if you're saying to talk to him, okay, or something like that, to him, to her, to me, to you, etc. Téléphoner à, okay? Now in English we just say to ring my brother, to ring my sister, but they actually say to ring to in French. Interdire à, to ban, to forbid. So if you're ever in doubt about whether to use an indirect object pronoun or not, have a look at the verb in the sentence. If that verb is typically followed by the preposition aggrave plus a person's name, then you can use an indirect object pronoun. Okay? Now, let's go through it in really simple terms. Elle parlera à Paul. She will speak to Paul later on. She will speak to Paul. Parler à plus a person. Okay, so instead of saying she will speak to Paul, I want to say she will speak to him. To him is my indirect object pronoun, whereas the direct object would be him. Okay, but here I'm saying she will speak to him. To him is my indirect object pronoun. So you're replacing to Paul with to him. Elle lui parlera. So lui clearly means to him. Je téléphone à mes parents. I ring my parents. Téléphoner à plus mes parents. So à mes parents. I ring my parents, I ring them. But really the French are saying to them. Okay, because they're using the preposition aggrave. So to them in French is leur. Je leur téléphone. Okay, the more I go through this, the easier it will become. So here are the indirect object pronouns. So if you want to say to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them, okay, to before the name of the person, to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them, you use me, te, lui, nous, vous, and leur. So if you're replacing a grave plus the name of a person in a sentence in French by saying to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them, use an indirect object pronoun. Me, te, lui, nous, vous, and leur. Now, yes, they do look very like the direct object pronouns, which were me, te, le, and la. Nous, vous, and leur. Or nous, vous, and les. Okay, but these are me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. Okay, let's look at more examples that'll make it easier. J'envoie les cadeaux à mes amis. I send presents to my friends. Look at the verb envoyer à plus people. To send to my friends. I send presents to my friends. I want to say I send them presents. Okay? Or I send presents to them. Okay? I send presents to them. Okay? I could actually change that there now, couldn't I? Make it easier for you to understand. I send presents to them. So I'm replacing to my friends with to them. So instead of saying j'envoie les cadeaux à mes amis, I drop à mes amis. So I'm replacing à mes amis with leur. Okay? Because I want to say I send presents to them. And to them in French is leur. Okay, so if you're replacing aggrave plus the name of people in French, it's an indirect object pronoun. So I send presents to my friends. I send presents to them. They just put to them before the verb. And in French, to them is leur. The second example, je dis l'histoire à maman. So I tell the story to mom. So it's dire à, to tell to. So I tell the story to mom. I tell the story to mom. I want to replace to mom with to her. I tell the story to her. So I drop à maman, and I replace it with to her. So to her in French is lui, and I put it before the verb. Je lui dis l'histoire. Okay? So do you know what? It makes your sentence a little bit shorter and a little bit sweeter. Okay? Here's a list of common verbs where the verb is followed by the preposition à grave followed by a person. So I've highlighted some of them. Demander à is to ask someone. Okay, something. So je demande à mon père. I ask my dad. So je lui demande. Donner à, to give to. Je donne un cadeau à mon père. I give a gift to my dad. Je lui donne un cadeau. Envoyer à, to send to. I send an email to my teacher. J'envoie un email à mon prof. Je lui envoie un email. So you're just replacing the à grave plus the person's name using an indirect object pronoun. Other common ones, interdire à, to ban, to forbid someone from doing something. Parler à, to talk to someone. Répondre à, to respond to reply to someone. Téléphoner à, to ring someone. Okay, so I hope that's okay. Now, let's look at further examples of using indirect object pronouns. Parler à, to speak to talk to. J'ai parlé à mon père hier soir. I spoke to my dad last night. I want to say I spoke to him. So I drop to my dad, à mon père, and I replace it with to him. To him in French is lui, and I put it before my verb. Now in this sentence, it's the past tense, so you have a helping verb, past participle, put it before the helping verb. Je lui ai parlé. Okay? Donner à, to give to. J'ai donné un coup de main à mes parents. I gave a helping hand to my parents. So I gave a helping hand to them. I'm just going to replace that there to make it easier. So I gave a helping hand to them. So I'm replacing to my parents, à mes parents, with to them. Okay, so I drop à mes parents and I replace it with to them, which is leur. And obviously if the sentence is in the past tense, put it before the helping verb avoir. So je leur ai donné un coup de main. Now, if you're using an indirect object pronoun in the past tense before a helping verb avoir, you don't need to make any agreement. We did with the direct object pronouns, you don't with the indirect object pronouns. Okay? So remember, you use an indirect object pronoun when you have a verb followed by the preposition à grave followed by people only. Only people. Okay? So, if you want a quick recap, here are the direct object pronouns. Me, te, le, la, nous, vous, and les. So it just means me, you, him, her, us, ye, them. So I see the boy, I see him. Very simple, you're just replacing le garçon, the direct object, with him, just him. So je vois le garçon, je le vois. I hate cigarettes, I hate them. Or he hates cigarettes, he hates them. So you drop les cigarettes and you replace it with les and you put it before the verb. Il les déteste. Whereas the indirect object pronouns are me, te, lui, nous, vous, and leur. And they mean to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them. And they typically replace a verb followed by à grave plus the name of a person only. So it's à grave plus the name of a person that you're replacing. So j'envoie les cadeaux à mes amis. I send presents to my friends. I send presents to them. Je leur envoie les cadeaux. So that's the difference between the direct and the indirect object pronouns. Okay, I'll go on to the pronoun I in the next video.